Alright, Fellowship of the Fortified Tower members. We're going to go over this little area right here on the map. Shows the Black Sea, the Sea of Crete, the Aegean Sea, the Med, but specifically the Bosphorus Straits and the Dardanelles Straits, and how they play into this coming war that's not too far off, and why these are important. And they're actually little mentioned, except for this Greek monk that spoke about it back in the 1700s, and we're going to go over a little bit of that to expound on some of the details about why all of that is important and how it's going to come into play. And I think it has something to do with what's happening in Iran as well, and Israel. Anyhow, I just want to give you a close-up of that so you have a good idea what I'm talking about, because I'm going to pull this back. Alright. Oh, ouch. Whoa. my chair rig here is not working too good. Anyway, these prophecies by Saint Cosmas of Aetolia, you can look them up online, and you can get the text that I have right here. Okay, I'm not going to read the whole thing to you, but you can go over it and you can get an idea of some of the things this guy spoke about were far ahead in his future, or beyond his life. And there was another fella later that rose up in Greece. His name was Palacios, Pasios, and he, P-A-I-S-I-O-S, okay, Paisios, Elder Paisios, okay, and he was able to interpret some of the prophecies of Saint Cosmas, okay, that a lot of people had misinterpreted, and a lot of the stuff that he spoke about has come to pass already. But he spoke about the liberation of Constantinople, which is now currently called Istanbul. Okay, so Istanbul is was Constantinople, and it was under the influence of the Greeks. It was a beloved city of them, but it was taken over by the Turks, and they called it Istanbul. So Istanbul is what it's called today, and it's right here on the map, right at the Bosphorus Straits there. And the story goes that there was a prophecy about a 12-mile buffer zone or sovereignty, okay, border that ran around the coasts, okay, and that it was going to be pushed back to 6 by the Turks, against the wishes, of course, of the Greeks. And when that happens, there's going to be this conflict. Okay, they've been going at it for a long time, and every once in a while, it brings its ugly head up and looks like they're going to go to war. But eventually, they will. And when that happens, it'll happen at a moment where it's going to be critical to what is going on in the rest of the world, with the Russians and with Iran and with Israel and the United States and NATO, okay? Because right now the Turks are under NATO, okay? But they have been friendly with the Russians, okay? They've bought S-400 anti-air defense systems, okay, to protect some of their assets. And that really tweaked the NATO boys, okay? So the Turks have been a little, iffy as far as their allegiance, you might say. And the Greeks are, I don't think the Russians have any problems with the Greeks because of their religion, and that there is an Orthodox religion, Christianity, in Russia as well. So, for whatever reason, they side with Greece, okay, and they go against the Turks, okay, and the Turks try to close these straits, and the Russians aren't having it because, for obvious reasons, they can't get into the Med if these straits are closed. Like, let's say the Turks mined it, right? Well, in the Black Sea, the Russians have minesweepers and stuff, so they can reopen it, and there'll be a big to-do about it when it happens. But the reason I believe that the reason is partly because the Russians are going to want to roll through here with all their ships to help support Iran, okay? And NATO is going to say, hey, well, we know what we're going to do is we're going to put a roadblock in your way. We're going to have the Turks close up this deal. And the Turks, I believe unwisely, are going to comply with NATO for some reason. And when they do that, they've just basically shot themselves in the head. And the Russians are going to come, and the Russians are going to take care of the problem, and that's going to be that. And there's more to it than that, I'm sure, but that's basically the nuts and bolts of it. And when that happens, there'll be fleets of NATO come around here also, and there'll be this, maritime battle out there as, push comes to shove. And that was also prophesied by this Saint Cosmos, okay? So you can get online and you can look up that name, okay, an Elder Paisios, and you can read up on all of this, because this, when I found this, I hadn't heard about it before that, ever. Nobody ever mentioned it. I never saw it in any prophecy book, and I read a lot of prophecy books. But it was like a blessing when I came across this, because this could be part of the catalyst for World War III and this whole show starting off. Because once, let's say Iran hits Israel again, and then we get in there against Iran, and we hit Iran very hard this time, and they hit us very hard, and they hit Israel very hard, and you got this conflagration going on, right? So then NATO is going to try to prevent Russia from assisting Iran, naturally, right? So when that happens, they're probably going to call on the Turks, their NATO ally, to cause a ruckus down here and try to push to get this border pushed back. And I believe it's over oil that the Turks want that buffer zone pushed back to 6 miles versus 12 miles. And they'll be encroaching upon, Greece sovereignty when they do that. And the Greeks are not going to be happy about that either. And there'll be this, conflict. But for whatever reason, Turkey just kind of throws itself in the way of the Russians, and that's not too smart, but it looks like that's what they're going to do. So, there are probably people out there that know this situation better than I do. A lot of people, because I'm barely familiar with it in a way, but I can see where this is setting up the stage for this, this conflict. Okay, and once that happens, Europe, NATO just put themselves in the target zone, downrange. Okay, and I don't think things are going to go well for them after they do that. So, the Russians are a lot more powerful and ready for this rock and roll party than most want to project, and I'm not quite sure why they do that, but they color them as a little backwards, and they don't have enough they're running low, they're all beat up and all this stuff, and that's just not the case. Okay, what Putin's been doing for the last 2 years, 3 years, he's been cycling his troops through this battle. Okay, he didn't have to go far to find an adversary to get his troops honed up on. They were right there in Ukraine. That situation had been festering for years. Okay, and he just seized the opportunity, and he's doing a couple different things at the same time. He's not only giving his troops and his gear and everything else, severe testing and getting them battle hardened. Okay, he's draining the resources of the West to the point where the West is now, counting pennies. Okay, and they don't have enough manufacturing base to really support a long, drawn-out affair. And it's a very shrewd move by Putin. And we can bolster all we want and say how great we are all day long, but that's just on paper. In reality, we have some stuff that's pretty beat up, and it's moving on fumes. Okay. There'll be a lot of people want to probably dispute that, but that is the case. And our gear is of an era that's past. Okay, it's not going to hold up very well in this much more rapid paced type of warfare that we are observing taking place in Ukraine right now. And with the hypersonic missiles they have, which means basically that it goes faster than Mach 5 times the speed of sound. Okay, when you've got rockets that go 15 times the speed of sound, you've got a big advantage. Okay, because there's not a lot of other anti-missile missiles that will be able to even reach that or find it, and that fast stuff is going to get in and hit. And we have very large, slow-moving targets with 5,000 people on board, and we lose a few of those, and it's going to hurt, and it's going to be devastating. Okay, and it'll also, I would imagine, make the United States a bit gun-shy about sending any more large, slow targets into the combat zone. But that's kind of how I see it. So we're going to get hurt. We're going to get bloody. It's going to be a bloody. So yeah, we're going to get bloody. And not only are we going to get bloody, but I can see where things are going to get to a certain point, and the Russians are going to probably demonstrate just what they're capable of doing. All right, and they're probably going to do it somewhere in Ukraine. Okay, they're going to set off. They're going to lob a missile. And it's going to be a big one. Okay, and they're going to do it to try to deter the NATO and the United States from continually pushing harder and harder for this conflict to bloom. And when that happens, it's going to ripple all through the Pentagon and a lot of different bases where all the heavy thinkers sit around and talk about this. But the danger of that I see coming. See this red area here? I traced that off of a briefing that was done by Philip Bart. I can't remember his last name for some reason. But anyway, he was a pastor over there in Ukraine for 25 years. You know, he didn't intend to stay that long, but that's how long he stayed over there. And he was preaching, and the Lord showed him in a vision that we were going to nuke this area of Ukraine with eight different locations. Okay, that where the Russians had assemblies of troops and gear, and not only there, but also areas of Belarus and Russia proper. Okay, there's Moscow right there. So I would imagine that this area here has a lot of, you know, airstrips, missile manufacturing, stores of ammunition, stores of equipment, armor, and all that kind of stuff. So we're going to hit them pretty hard. Now the Russians, they've been planning with building a lot of underground facilities to house a lot of their population underground in the event of a nuclear war. Whereas the United States, on the other hand, has not done diddly squat since the 50s and 60s. But I mean, all of our stuff is out in the open, except for some underground military bases that are dispersed throughout the country. But as far as the population goes, there hasn't been a lot of provision allocated for that purpose. And so, you know, the population of the United States is going to take a beating. And the Russians will weather this, okay? And I imagine when it comes down to this moment, the Russians are going to just launch everything, you know? It'll be that'll be it. It'll be over for the United States. And then they'll come and they'll invade after that with the Chinese. And the Chinese are going to be part of this attack as well in the bombing phase. And the North Koreans will also. I think Putin's given old Kim there a little piece of the action for some favors he did. But please don't mind the explosions. It's the 4th of July, 2025. But so that's where, you know, we're coming up on this moment, and it may be a few months away. It could be 6 months, could be even a year away. But as things are progressing faster and faster, as I'm observing them, it could be a lot sooner than most expect. And so, you know, if you're on the fence, you need to get off the fence, and you need to repent. And you know, this country's in for some judgment. So, and it's going to come from here. You know, it's going to come from here. Okay. And this whole war, this whole conflict that's you know, getting worse by the day and the hour down in Iran and Israel is the beginning of it all. It's the beginning. It's the beginning of the end of the era where the United States has, you know, led the show for 80 years. But that's quick. You know, the Lord's going to take that away from us, and that's it. And then, you know, the time frame after our destruction is going to be a lot. There's going to be a lot of shifting politically, and a lot of rigmarole back and forth, and the Antichrist will be doing his thing, and it'll come to a point where there'll be natural disasters that affect a lot of this as well. And they call them natural disasters, but they're actually, God's going to be pounding on the earth for a while, and to get people to come to Him. And then it'll culminate in the Battle of Armageddon, and all those armies will be gathered, you know, right in here. They'll be coming down, they're coming over and up and around and this way and that way, you know, and they'll all spool up right here in a little valley of a large valley actually called Megiddo, and the blood will run as high as a horse's bridle. Now that's about yay high, okay? It's about 4 feet, 5 feet high for 200 miles, and that may happen in other places as well, but that's what's mentioned in the book of Revelation. And you know, there'll be God's going to call all the birds, you know, and all the beasts, and they're going to have a feast. And you know, it's interesting at the end where all these armies, you know, it's described as all these armies are gathered together, and they're going to fight against the King of Kings, right? And then it just cuts to, well, the beast is taken, boom, thrown in the lake of fire, and all the bad people and all the, you know, they're just chucked in the lake of fire, boom, done. It's like the battle lasts, you know, maybe seconds, okay, and maybe not even that, because I mean the Lord just opens His mouth and that's it. It's over for them, and the angels come and take those guys and throw them. That's it. They're done. It's an interesting how the paragraph just, you know, it just shifts. It's just like all these armies are gathered together to fight against the Lord, and then boom, and the beast and the false prophet are taken and, you know, taken out, and that's it. And you know, so it's just, you know, it's like all of this preparation and all of this gear and everything else that was assembled for this gigantic battle, and it you know, it sounds to me like it doesn't even get used. It just gets destroyed. Boom, done. So that's basically the, you know, I was just trying to bring this up because I have not heard much about it, but it could be a very crucial factor in this whole, you know, cooking of this war that's coming up. So I just wanted to lay that on you, give you a heads up about it, something to watch for, and you know, say your prayers. Things are going to start rapidly increasing in tempo, and I mean, I can feel it. I can feel it. It's like the shoe has he's let go of the other shoe, and it's coming, and a lot of others are feeling it too. So say your prayers, read your word, you know, do what you can, try to stock up as much food as you can. And another thing, you know, if you're thinking, you're living in a city and you're thinking you're going to bug out, all right, when things get rough, you are living in, you know, a dreamland, because it isn't going to go like that. If you're not out of the city now, you've almost waited too long, okay? I know there's a lot of people out there that can't leave the city for whatever reason. Maybe their grandmothers or mothers, or somebody's in a hospital, or, you know, you have all the, but it's like if it's, you know, the Lord sometimes, if you begin, He'll make a way. He'll make a way. He'll go before you, and things will, you know, things He'll guide you. But I fear that many are going to be, you know, behind the lines. They're going to be caught behind the lines. And you know, I mean, not that the goal is to survive at all or anything. It's to bring the harvest in, okay? And maybe that's why you're there, to bring the harvest that's in your vicinity or in your influence to that place. I pray that's the case. And but if you feel it in your spirit, you know, a hankering to get out of the city, then do something about it. Grab a U-Haul, throw it on the back of the car, and just take what you can. Sell everything else and take what you can, and find a place where you can resettle. You know, it's away from bases, it's away from any other cities. You know, just try to get as far away from the larger cities as you can, because these missiles are targeted for the cities, okay, and for bases. But you know, I mean, I don't think they want to blast everything into oblivion, because they want to utilize the resources when they get here. But and they'll take the people that are left that survived, that are healthy enough, and they'll use them for labor. And so yeah, they'll use it for labor. They'll use it for labor. And there's a draft coming. Okay, I spoke about that in the last video. Before, you know, when we get hot and heavy with this thing with Iran, and possibly even the situation in Taiwan is going to kick off, because the Chinese are going to try to draw some of our resources that way to take the heat off this side. Well, our government is going to just, you know, flip the switch and turn the country into war mode. And you know, they've got the notices already stamped. I mean, all they got to do is send them and then make an announcement on the radio, and everybody that's of draft age, between the ages of you know, 18 and 30 or whatever, at first, they'll dig deeper later, both ways. And you know, you'll be required to go down and make yourself known. You're available, and if you don't, they'll tighten the screws until you do. A lot of people are probably gonna, you know, try to somehow avoid all that, but eventually, unless you're very, very shrewd and very careful, they will find you. So that's coming too. All right, and you're going to hear a lot more patriotic, you know, chatter on the radio, songs, all that kind of stuff, and rah rah America, you know, and they, you know, how dare they, and they'll bring up past conflicts we've had, Pearl Harbor, 9/11, and all of that. But you know, the bottom line is that the bankers making the money, and none of them are going to go. None of them are going to sit, you know, walk point. You will, and they don't care. They don't care. So, you know, pray about it, because, you know, it's going to be an individual kind of basis thing. So if you do go, and you know the Lord, you know He's with you, what else can you do? You know, and do the best you can. And like the saying used to go, be all you can be, I guess. And keep yourself strong in the faith. You know, make sure you've got your Bible, and you read it, and soak it up, and learn everything you can. You know, you go through boot camp, it may not be as long as they are now, and they'll be available. There'll be schools available afterwards that you can go to. Go to those. Go to everyone they'll send you to. Go to Ranger School. Go to Airborne School. Go to all the leadership classes for sure. Okay, because the more leadership classes you take, the faster you'll advance in rank. And if I had it to do over again, I probably wouldn't really want to get much past E6. That's a squad leader level, okay? And that was where it was most fulfilling for me. It was, you know, I was where the metal met the road, okay? I was at the pointy end of the stick, and I didn't want to be anywhere else, okay? Because if I wasn't at the pointy end of the stick, then, you know, it didn't have, it just didn't feel like I had the purpose, you know, that I had when I was at the pointy end of the stick. So, you know, if you're gonna take me and waste my time and take my time and my life and put it somewhere, I'd rather be at the pointy end of the stick where it matters. You know, it matters to the guys that are on the ground with you. Okay, and if you have leadership quality and you're able to you know, perform that function, you're going to have 8 guys underneath you that you're going to be responsible for and take care of and mentor and protect from higher. And You know, it's a bittersweet thing, because when you lose people, it hurts. It hurts. It hurts. But, you know, I trust my God. I trust the Lord Jesus Christ on that. And I hope you do too. But, so just get ready, okay? Get ready, because it's coming. There ain't nothing going to stop this. And with that, I'm going to sign off. You guys watch your 6.